Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're having an absolutely wonderful day here on Tuesday morning. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Hey, we're studying the doctrine of the resurrection. And as anyone would agree, the resurrection of the dead would be to overcome the death of Adam. That's simply axiomatic. It's undeniable, undebatable, irrefutable. Okay. So the great question, therefore, is, what was the death of Adam? Well, in order to determine the death of Adam, one thing that is extremely helpful is to look at the death of Christ. The death, burial, and resurrection of Christ was to overcome the death of Adam. Once again, simply not even debatable in theology of Christianity. Consider then with me the doctrine of the atonement. The atonement means to make the satisfaction. It means to make the covering. Now, I want to share with you a few thoughts from my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. Now, this is an argument found on page 16. I have an awful lot more material there in the book. And remember, if you order the book, go to my website, it's www.eschatology.org or BibleProphecy.com. You order the book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings, and you make mention that you saw the offer on YouTube, and I will refund your shipping. Well, I want you to follow very closely this simple but really quite profound argument. Christ took on himself the penalty of sin. That is, he died to make the atonement. Undeniable, right? Okay. Christ took on himself the penalty of sin. He died to make the atonement so that those in him would not have to pay the penalty of sin. Undeniable, right? Okay? Those in Christ do not have to pay the penalty of sin since they receive the benefit of atonement. The penalty of sin is biological death, we are told, i.e., the death of Adam was biological death. Therefore, those in Christ do not have to die biologically. Do I have to tell you that there's something really, really wrong here? Now, folks, if Christ died to make the atonement so that those in Christ, those in the power of his atonement, do not have to pay the penalty of sin, i.e., death, and if, in fact, biological death is the penalty for sin, and we are told it is, then why in the world do those in Christ still have to pay the penalty of sin? In my next segment, I'm going to pose a question. That question is physical death the enemy of the child of God today? But that's enough for today. Just consider the doctrine of the atonement. And very quickly, once again, in closing, Christ took on himself the penalty of sin to make the atonement for sin so that those in him do not have to pay the penalty of sin. He made the atonement. Those in Christ, therefore, and in the power of his atonement, should not have to pay the penalty of sin. The penalty of sin is biological death, or so we're told. Therefore, those in Christ should not have to pay the penalty of sin, i.e., physical death. Now, folks, it's more than obvious you and I are going to die biologically, right? Does that mean that no one is in the power of Jesus' death? This is a very serious problem. Historical Christianity has not dealt with this. Only covenant eschatology has the answer for this conundrum. Thanks for joining me for today's Morning Musings. We'll see you on the flip side.